townships, while we'll also explore the opportunities, challenges, and also success stories that are shaping this dynamic sector. Well, joining me in studio is Bulelani Balabala, founder of the Township Entrepreneurs Alliance and also CEO of Intercessor Army Franchising. And also joining me virtually is Ndumiso Zulu, CEO of Masisizane Fund. Together we'll also delve into the exciting world of township entrepreneurship, uncover the secrets behind its success. Well, Bulelani, thank you so much for joining us on Africa's Side Hustle. Well, just to delve into this conversation, what actually drives entrepreneurship and also side hustles in order for the economy, rather the township economy, to drive economic growth?
I think, at the base of it, really, the primary driver is the need to be able to put food on the table at its core. Because, you sort of look at 60% of businesses that sort of start and trade, not even businesses, but individuals who trade, are trading purely driven by sustenance at the end of the day. And they're not necessarily doing that to become entrepreneurs. And I guess that's the ethos of the side hustle. But I think when you sort of peel off a couple of layers back and you look at, our grandmothers, our mothers who either worked in my kitchen in the suburban areas and the sort and could not make enough, and they still sold. They still were part of network marketing and other avenues to sort of get additional incomes sort of at home. So I think at its core, it's really that then is the real driver at the end of the day. And I think from a growth perspective, I think the more of the structured learning, the structured support around saying, well, now consider it, don't just consider it to put bread on the table, but consider it as a potential career choice.
Ndumiso, same question applies to you. What role do you think side hustles and entrepreneurship actually have an impact upon, South African township economies?
We need to shift the dial and the way in which people see entrepreneurship, whether it be in the townships or in the rural areas. I think primarily you will see it as a means to an end. Maybe I can't get a job, therefore I need to start a business to be able to survive. But I think we need to get to a point where you're saying this is actually a valid career choice. I actually want to be an entrepreneur when I grow up. And I think what's important in driving that is to first recognize that the bulk of business activity in this country actually takes place in the informal sector, in locales like the townships. And it's a question of saying what structures do we put in place to be able to support and create an environment where these businesses can thrive, but more than that, start to grow and eventually convert into bigger businesses. I always say that nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to start a small business. People say, I want to start a business, period. And how big that business gets is a function of many things, be it ambition, growth in the market.
We all know that the Masisizane Fund was formed in 2007. And how has the mission evolved over the years, and what impact did it offer upon the youth, rather, in terms of township development as well?
So in coming up with our mandate as a fund, we said that particular segment of the market that is not being adequately serviced, that's where we want to go to. So between 2007 and now, we've disbursed over R1 billion in terms of funding to businesses that are owned by youth, women, Black people, people living with disabilities, but also people living in townships and the rural economies. So that's really been our impact. And in that time, we've facilitated job creation and sustenance in the tens of thousands over that time period. But more than that, I think the business support element of what we do is really the critical missing piece. I always say that funding access or finance is the easy part. It's either you get the money or you don't get the money. But what you actually do with that money once you get it is really what determines whether your business is going to fail or not. And the way in which businesses need support is not just financial, but it's also just in terms of capacity building. I always say that I work for a big corporate, and every next person is a chief. You have a chief of information, chief of finance, CEO, and on and on and on the list goes. But if you're running a small business, you're probably the chief of everything, in addition to providing all the necessary support. And I think ultimately for what we're trying to do and achieve from an economic stimulation point of view, collaboration is key. There was mention around some of the challenges of doing business in the townships. One of those is safety. There's a growing trend of protection fees that are being demanded. And I'm saying as a business, I cannot solve for that. The business owner I'm trying to fund cannot solve for that. Safety and security is a government mandate, right? But also the sense of ownership of the businesses in the communities.
Why is it important and essential for, side hustles or entrepreneurships to cover that mandate on collaboration and partnerships?
Whatever it is I'm going to say now must be received on the backdrop of changing how we see opportunities, right? So what we've then done is, I think in the sharing of information, we've also then created a level of misinformation. And that level of misinformation is in and around, anytime you mention the word tech to some of these micro enterprises, they think that you need to develop an app. Anytime you mention 4IR, there's misnomers and confusion in and around what that is. But in the simplistic term, it's when you talk about technology as an enabler for a small business or in a formal business is when we're doing work with an entrepreneur out in Orange Farm and all he has is 3 donkeys and a cart and he sells coal. And his biggest challenge was, how do I get this coal to my customers because I get lost, the road markings here are not clear. And all he had to do was utilize a simple technological tool, WhatsApp location pins from his customers. Now he's able to deliver. So that for me is some of the simplistic forms. But when you then talk about this bubbling economy, I mean, the spaza red market, which are your spaza shops and the sorts, guys were selling chicken feet on the side of the road. I mean, that's worth 180 billion. So when we then talk about that particular market, we must always talk about that market with that deep sense of understanding and then peel off and that mindset that says it's an unseen, it's seen. The question at the end of the day is, are you opening yourself up to what is actually out there? And I mean, the last bit here is another young entrepreneur, and what he's done, he was retrenched from work. He's a father to a young daughter, and he's married and had no other employment prospects. And all he then decided to do is identify a market in his community where he washes bins. Every Thursday he washes bins and makes 4,000 Rand. That's 16,000 Rand a month. He just only works those 4 days a month. So for me, it's to say, he's then piggy banking on that, on the backdrop of number one, the municipality, all they do is pick up the bins and they leave them there. Majority of the households which are in the township are female-headed. Either it's a grandmother or a mother. Means that he's now able to ride off the trust that he's been able to build as a community member and then now provide that service. So I think for me, it's a two-edged sword. It says the township economy is bubbling with a lot of opportunities. The one side is to say large corporates change how you see and perceive this market so that the criteria that you utilize to fund and support might be loosened up or utilize different measurements. And then also to any entrepreneur or young or small business who's watching this is to say there actually are opportunities. Are you choosing to see them or are you choosing to see other things?
What a story right there. And just before I actually let you go, Ndumiso, how does the Masisizane stay ahead of the curve in terms of identifying emerging trends and opportunities in the SME sector?
We stay in touch with our clients. Part of our value proposition is that we don't give you money on day one, and then we'll see you at the end of the month when the debit order runs or doesn't run, in which case we are calling you nonstop saying, where's our money? But it's actually getting our hands dirty and getting involved with you in your business as partners from a post-investment point of view to say, how is your business performing? What are some of the biggest pain points? I mentioned I was sitting in the dark because of load shedding, for example. What are some of the alternative power solutions that are right for this type of entrepreneur to be able to continuously run their business?
Well, just talking about the world of side hustles in South Africa's townships and success stories that are shaping this dynamic sector. As we conclude today's episode, remember that Africa's entrepreneurial spirit is unstoppable. Share your hustle story with us on social media using #AfricaSideHustle. And don't forget to subscribe for more entrepreneurial stories, business news and insights on CNBCAfrica.com. Till next week.
And that's how we wrap up Power Lunch Southern Africa. Up next is Power Lunch West Africa. Stay watching CNBC Africa.